It wasn't luck, it was intent. Tomás's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of his experience. His eyes, usually bright with the thrill of the surf, now held a haunted look as he recounted that fateful dawn off Galicia's rocky shore. The sea was a mirror that morning, silent and glass flat. Not a ripple disturbed its surface as Tomás paddled out, his board cutting through water that felt more like oil than ocean. The warnings of local fishermen echoed in his mind, their voices tinged with worry. They're getting too close. But Tomás was a veteran surfer, accustomed to the moods of the sea. He'd faced big waves and strong currents before. Yet something about this morning felt different. The air was thick with an eerie stillness. No birds wheeled overhead. No wind whispered across the water. Only a distant, low hum vibrated in the air, the kind of sound you feel in your chest more than hear. As he paddled further from shore, Tomás couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His eyes scanned the water, searching for any sign of movement. That's when he saw them sleek black shapes gliding beneath the surface. A pod of orcas, their powerful bodies moving with effortless grace. Tomás's heart quickened. He'd heard stories of these intelligent predators, but he'd never been this close. He watched, mesmerized, as they tracked his every paddle stroke. Their presence was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Without warning, the peaceful scene exploded into chaos. A juvenile whale burst upward from the depths, ramming Tomás's board with the force of a battering ram. The crack of splintering fiberglass shattered the morning silence. In a heartbeat, Tomás found himself airborne, launched headfirst into a spray of icy water. He surfaced gasping, the taste of salt sharp on his tongue. His lungs burned as he gulped in air, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The remains of his board bobbed nearby, snapped clean in half. And there, circling him with deliberate precision, were the orcas. 3 massive dorsal fins sliced through the water, forming a tightening semicircle around him. Tomás's mind raced, searching for a way out. But before he could act, one of the orcas' tails slapped the sea beside him. The sound was like a thunderclap, the impact sending shockwaves through the water. Tomás froze, his body rigid with shock. He remembered the advice he'd been given about encounters with marine life. Don't splash, don't panic. But staying calm seemed impossible as he lay there, clinging to the shattered foam of his board, surrounded by some of the ocean's most formidable predators. Every breath felt like fire in his lungs. The cold was seeping into his bones, numbing his limbs. In that moment, Tomás felt smaller and more vulnerable than he ever had before. The vastness of the ocean pressed in around him, and he was acutely aware of his place in it, not as a skilled surfer, but as a fragile human being at the mercy of forces far beyond his control. From the cliffs above, distant shouts reached his ears. His surf buddies had seen what happened and were raising the alarm. A flicker of hope sparked in Tomás's chest. Help was coming, but would it arrive in time? He watched, heart pounding, as 2 of his friends plunged into the water, boards clutched under their arms. They paddled furiously towards him, determination etched on their faces. But the orcas weren't finished with Tomás yet. With a synchronicity that seemed almost choreographed, the whales shifted formation. They positioned themselves between Tomás and his would-be rescuers, blocking any attempt to reach him. They moved like silent sentinels, their intentions unclear, but their message unmistakable. No one was getting close. Tomás felt their eyes upon him, even from beneath the surface. There was an intelligence in those gazes that sent a shiver down his spine. They weren't looking at him with the mindless hunger of a predator. No, this felt different, curious, measured, unthreatened. As he floated there, suspended between fear and fascination, Tomás realized something that would haunt him long after this encounter. The orcas weren't acting on instinct alone. Every move felt calculated, purposeful. They were testing him, studying his reactions. Then, just when Tomás thought his strength might give out, the pod backed away. It wasn't much, just enough to give him a bit more space, a chance to breathe easier. But the message was clear. They were in control. They would decide when this encounter would end. The minutes stretched on, feeling like hours. Tomás's friends hovered nearby, unwilling to leave him but unable to help. The standoff continued, a silent battle of wills between man and beast. And then, like an answered prayer, a new sound cut through the morning air. The steady hum of an engine grew louder, and Tomás saw a Coast Guard boat appear on the horizon. It moved swiftly towards him, a beacon of hope in the dawn light. As the boat drew closer, the orcas began to retreat. They melted away into the depths, leaving no trace of their presence save for the wreckage of Tomás' board and the pounding of his heart. A rescue rope splashed into the water beside him. With the last of his strength, Tomás reached out and grasped it. As he was pulled to safety, the adrenaline that had kept him going began to ebb away. His vision blurred, the world tilting sideways. The last thing Tomás remembered before losing. Consciousness was the feeling of solid deck beneath him and the warmth of a blanket being wrapped around his shoulders. He was safe, but forever changed. In the days and weeks that followed, Tomás would replay that morning over and over in his mind. He analyzed every detail, every movement of the orcas. And always, he'd come back to that same conclusion. It wasn't luck, it was intent. The encounter had stripped away any illusions Tomás had about his place in the natural world. He'd come face to face with creatures of incredible power and intelligence, and he'd been found wanting. But more than that, he'd been spared. As he recounted his story, Tomás's voice grew quiet. "I've spent my life in the water," he said, "but I've never felt so ... Seen, it was like they were looking right into me, deciding whether I was worth sparing." The experience had left its mark on Tomás, not just in the nightmares that sometimes jolted him awake, but in a newfound respect for the ocean and its inhabitants. He still surfed the call of the waves was too strong to resist, but he did so with a heightened awareness of the life teeming beneath the surface. "We think we know the sea," Tomás mused, his gaze distant. "We chart its depths, we ride its waves. But out there that morning, I realized how little we truly understand. Those orcas ... they weren't just animals acting on instinct. They were thinking, planning, communicating in ways we can barely comprehend." As the sun set on another day, casting long shadows across the beach, Tomás stood at the water's edge. The waves lapped gently at his feet, a far cry from the glass-like stillness of that fateful morning. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the salty air. "I'll never forget their eyes," he said softly. "So intelligent, so ... deliberate. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else is out there, watching us, evaluating us? And what will happen when they decide we're no longer worth sparing?" With those words hanging in the air, Tomás turned and walked back up the beach, leaving behind footprints that would soon be washed away by the tide. But the memory of that encounter, the day killer whales surrounded a veteran surfer in Galicia, would remain, a testament to the mysteries that still lurk beneath the waves.